The invisible threat, the Korthak border station. Omega-7 floated in the void like a steel fortress, its massive bulk bristling with sensor arrays and weapon platforms. For 300 years, nothing had passed through this sector without the station's knowledge. Commander Zephys stood in the central command deck, his forearms crossed behind his chitinous back as he surveyed the endless stream of data flowing across the holographic displays. The Korthak Empire had built their reputation on absolute control. Every trade route, every migration path, every possible approach to their core worlds was monitored with ruthless efficiency. Zephys took pride in his perfect record. Not a single unauthorized vessel had slipped past his watch in over 2 decades of service. That was about to change. Sensor operator Crix suddenly straightened at her station, her compound eyes widening. As she stared at her instruments, the readings made no sense. For just a moment, something massive had appeared on the edge of their detection grid. Something impossible. "Commander," Crix called out, her voice tight with confusion. "I'm reading an anomaly in Sector 7 Alpha. Contact lasted approximately 4 seconds before disappearing." Zephys moved to her station with fluid grace, his long limbs carrying him across the deck in 3 quick strides. The data on her screen showed the brief signature of something enormous, easily 3 kilometers in length, with an energy output that rivaled their own station's power core. "Run full diagnostics on all sensor arrays," Zephys ordered, his mandibles clicking with annoyance. "Our equipment doesn't malfunction." While Crix ran her diagnostics, the same anomalous reading appeared again, this time lasting nearly 10 seconds. The contact was closer now, and the computer managed to gather more detailed information. What it found sent ice through Zephys's secondary hearts. The object was artificial. It was massive beyond anything in the known galaxy, and according to the energy signatures, it was armed with weapons that defied Korthak understanding of physics. 3 billion kilometers away, the USS Phantom Strike drifted through folded space like a ghost ship. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge watching the tactical display as her ship phased in and out of normal reality. The experimental quantum displacement drive was working flawlessly, but Chen knew their luck wouldn't hold forever. "Status report, Commander Hayes," Chen said, never taking her eyes off the display. Executive Officer Marcus Hayes looked up from his console, his weathered face showing the strain of their dangerous mission. "Quantum drive is stable, Captain. We're phasing into normal space for approximately 8 seconds every 3 minutes. Their sensors are getting better at tracking us, but they still can't maintain a solid lock." Chen nodded. The technology was barely 6 months old, developed by Earth's best scientists after studying the theoretical work of long-dead physicists. By manipulating quantum states, the Phantom Strike could exist partially outside normal spacetime, appearing on sensors only when it briefly phased back into standard reality. Dr. Elena Vasquez, the ship's chief science officer, looked up from her research station. "Captain, I'm monitoring their communication channels. They're confused and frightened. This is the first time in centuries that something has penetrated their border defenses." "Good," Chen replied. "Fear makes people make mistakes. Navigator." "Rodriguez, how much longer until we reach their core system?" Lieutenant Carlos Rodriguez checked his instruments carefully. 16 hours at current speed, Captain, but I'm detecting massive fleet movements. They're mobilizing everything they have." Chen had expected this. Humanity had been watching the Korthak Empire for years, studying their tactics and technology through careful observation of their border conflicts with other species. The Korthaks were arrogant, believing themselves the ultimate predators of the galaxy. They had conquered dozens of worlds, enslaved entire civilizations, and built their empire on the bones of the weak, but they had never faced humanity. Chief Engineer Thomas Park spoke up from the engine room through the intercom system. "Captain, the quantum drive is performing beyond expectations. We could increase our phase variance and become completely invisible to their sensors." "Negative," Chen replied firmly. "We want them to see us. We want them to know we're here. The whole point is to announce humanity's presence to the galaxy." The bridge fell silent as the crew contemplated their mission. They weren't here as conquerors or destroyers. Earth's leaders had sent them with a simple message. Humanity existed, and they would not be ignored or threatened. The Korthak Empire had been expanding toward human space for decades, crushing everything in their path. It was time to show them that humans were not like the other species they had encountered. Back on Omega-7, Commander Zephys was facing the crisis of his career. The mysterious contact was appearing more frequently now, and each time it manifested, the readings became clearer and more terrifying. Whatever was approaching their territory possessed technology that made the Korthak Empire's greatest achievements look primitive. "Sir?" Crix reported, her voice barely steady. "I'm now reading multiple weapon signatures on that contact. Power levels are off any scale in our database. If those readings are accurate, that single vessel carries more firepower than our entire border fleet." Zephys felt his carapace growing cold. He opened a priority channel to High Command, knowing that what he was about to report would shake the very foundations of the Empire. "This is Border Station Omega-7 requesting immediate response from Central Command," he transmitted. "We have detected an unknown vessel of unprecedented size and capability approaching our territory. Vessel appears to be using advanced stealth technology and carries weapons of unknown design." The response came quickly. Admiral Korath, the Empire's supreme military commander, appeared on the main view screen. His scarred face and battle-worn carapace spoke of countless victories over inferior foes. "Commander Zephys, explain your report. No vessel can penetrate our detection grid without being destroyed." "Admiral, I am transmitting all sensor data now. This contact is unlike anything we have encountered. It appears to be approximately 3 kilometers in length, with energy output suggesting technology far beyond our current understanding." Admiral Korath studied the data in silence for long moments. When he spoke again, his voice carried an edge of uncertainty that Zephys had never heard before. "Continue monitoring and gathering intelligence. I am dispatching the 7th Battle Fleet to your position. Admiral Thaxon will take command of the situation." As the transmission ended, Zephys realized that for the first time in 3 centuries, the Korthak Empire was facing an unknown threat. The implications were staggering. If this mysterious vessel represented a new enemy, everything the Empire believed about its own supremacy might be about to change. On the Phantom Strike, Captain Chen received word that the Korthak fleet was mobilizing. Intelligence Officer Sarah Kim reported from her station, "Captain, we're intercepting increased military chatter. They're pulling ships from across 3 sectors. Current count shows 47 vessels converging on our projected course." "Any response to our diplomatic transmissions?" Chen asked. "Negative, Captain. They're treating us as a hostile contact. No attempt at communication." Chen wasn't surprised. The Korthaks had built their empire by assuming every unknown contact was either prey or a threat to be eliminated. They had never encountered a species that approached them as equals. "Very well," Chen said. "If they want to meet us with force, we'll show them what human engineering can accomplish. All hands, prepare for potential combat. Weapons systems to stand by." The crew of the Phantom Strike moved with practiced efficiency. They had trained for this moment for years, knowing that first contact with a hostile alien empire would likely involve violence. But they were ready. Human technology, driven by centuries of conflict and innovation, had produced weapons and defenses that even Earth's leaders barely understood. As the ship continued its journey toward the heart of Korthak space, both sides prepared for a confrontation that would reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. The Korthaks believed their numerical superiority and battle experience would carry the day. Humanity was about to teach them that sometimes quality mattered more than quantity. The stage was set for a meeting between 2 very different philosophies of power. The Korthaks ruled through fear and overwhelming force. Humans had learned to survive through adaptability, innovation, and the refusal to surrender in the face of impossible odds. In 16 hours, the galaxy would discover which approach proved superior. The reveal and reckoning Admiral Thaxon commanded the greatest fleet the Korthak Empire had assembled in over 50 years. 47 warships, including 8 massive dreadnoughts, moved through space in perfect formation. Each vessel carried enough firepower to sterilize a planet, and together they represented the accumulated military might of dozens of conquered worlds. The admiral stood on the bridge of his flagship, the World Breaker, studying tactical displays that showed the approaching human vessel. Despite its impressive size and mysterious technology, it was still just one ship against his armada. Thaxon had won battles against impossible odds before, but never had the odds been so heavily in his favor. Long-range sensors have acquired target, reported his tactical officer. Contact is maintaining course directly toward our formation. No attempt to evade or withdraw. Thaxon's mandibles clicked with satisfaction. The unknown aliens were either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. Either way, they would learn the price of challenging Korthak supremacy. Signal the fleet, Thaxon ordered. Battle formation Omega. Surround the target and prepare for boarding. Action. I want prisoners to interrogate about their technology. Meanwhile, on the USS Phantom Strike, Captain Chen watched the Korthak fleet take position around her ship. The aliens had moved with impressive coordination, but their tactics were predictable. They relied on overwhelming firepower and numerical superiority, exactly as Earth's intelligence had predicted. Impressive formation, commented Commander Hayes. They're treating us like a conventional threat. That's their mistake, Chen replied. Dr. Vasquez, what's the status of our defensive systems? The science officer checked her readings carefully. Quantum barrier generators are online and operating at full capacity. Adaptive shield matrix is ready to deploy. All weapon systems are charged and standing by. Chen opened a channel to the Korthak fleet. It was time to try diplomacy one more, time before things turned violent. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the human vessel Phantom Strike. We come seeking peaceful dialogue with your Empire's leadership. We have no hostile intentions toward your people. The response came quickly from Admiral Thaxon, unknown alien vessel. You have violated Korthak space and demonstrated advanced stealth capabilities that threaten our security. You will surrender immediately or be destroyed. Chen sighed. She had hoped for a different response, but humanity had prepared for this scenario as well. Admiral, we are willing to withdraw from your space if you agree to diplomatic talks. We seek coexistence, not conflict. Your terms are irrelevant, Thaxon replied coldly. Lower your shields and prepare to be boarded. This is your final warning. On the World Breaker's bridge, Thaxon gave his fleet the attack order. Energy weapons from 47 ships opened fire simultaneously, creating a devastating barrage that should have reduced any known vessel to vapor in seconds. The results were not what the Admiral expected. The human ship's shields absorbed the massive energy bombardment without even flickering. Exotic force fields that seemed to bend space itself deflected the most powerful weapons in the Korthak arsenal, as if they were harmless light beams. The Phantom Strike sat motionless in the center of the firestorm, completely unharmed. Impossible, Thaxon whispered. Nothing can withstand that level of concentrated fire. Captain Chen's voice came over the communication channel, calm and measured. Admiral, your weapons cannot penetrate our defenses. We do not wish to harm your crews, but we will defend ourselves if necessary. Please reconsider your position. Thaxon's response was to order another barrage, this time concentrating all firepower on a single point of the human ship's hull. The concentrated energy was enough to crack the surface of a moon, but it had no more effect than the first attack. On the Phantom Strike, Weapons Officer Lieutenant Jackson Turner looked to Captain Chen for orders. Captain, their weapons are completely ineffective against our barriers. Should I return fire? Chen considered carefully. Earth's leaders had been specific about the rules of engagement. Humanity would not fire the first shot, but they would defend themselves if attacked. The Korthaks had made their choice. Mr. Turner, target their weapon systems only. Disable, don't destroy. Show them the difference between our capabilities and theirs. Turner's fingers moved over his controls with practiced precision. Targeting solutions locked, Captain. Plasma lance batteries ready. Fire. The Phantom Strike's weapons were based on principles that human scientists had only recently begun to understand. Contained plasma heated to temperatures found in stellar cores, was guided by magnetic fields that could bend around any obstacle. The beams that lanced out from the human ship were thin lines of brilliant blue-white energy that moved at near-light speed. Each shot was precise, calculated, and devastatingly effective. Weapon ports on Korthak ships simply ceased to exist, vaporized by energy beams that left the rest of each vessel completely untouched. In less than 30 seconds, the entire Korthak fleet had been rendered harmless, without a single casualty. Admiral Thaxon stared at his tactical display in shock. His flagship's main guns had been surgically removed by weapons fire so precise that the adjacent hull plating hadn't even been scorched. Similar reports came in from every ship in his fleet. They were helpless, floating in space at the mercy of the mysterious human vessel. "This is impossible," he said again. But the evidence was undeniable. The aliens possessed technology so advanced that the Korthak Empire's greatest fleet had been neutralized without effort. Captain Chen opened another communication channel. "Admiral Thaxon, we have disabled your weapons to protect our ship and your crews. We could have destroyed your entire fleet, but that was never our intention. Will you now agree to peaceful negotiations?" The silence that followed seemed to last forever. On every Korthak ship, officers and crew members grappled with the realization that they had encountered something beyond their understanding. For the first time in their empire's history, they were not the apex predators. Finally, Admiral Thaxon found his voice. What do you want from us?" "Recognition," Chen replied simply. "Humanity exists, Admiral. We will not be conquered, enslaved, or ignored. Your empire has been expanding toward our space for decades. That expansion stops here." Dr. Vasquez looked up from her station. "Captain, I'm monitoring communications throughout their fleet. There's confusion, fear, but also curiosity. Some of their officers are already discussing the implications of our technology." Chen nodded. This was the moment that would determine whether first contact led to war or peace. "Admiral, we offer your empire a choice. You can view humanity as an enemy and waste resources in a conflict you cannot win. Or you can recognize us as equals and benefit from trade and cooperation." Admiral Thaxon was a warrior who had built his reputation on conquest and domination. But he was also intelligent enough to recognize when he was outmatched. The human ship could have destroyed his fleet in seconds, yet they had chosen precision over annihilation. That spoke to a kind of strength the Korthak Empire had never encountered. "You speak of cooperation," Thaxon said slowly. "What would you propose? A formal treaty establishing the boundaries between our territories, trade agreements that benefit both our peoples, an exchange of knowledge in fields where cooperation serves mutual interests." Intelligence Officer Kim leaned toward Captain Wu. Chen whispered, "Captain, I'm detecting response from the Korthak homeworld. Their leadership is requesting direct communication." Chen smiled. Word of the fleet's defeat had reached the highest levels of the Empire faster than she had expected. Fear was a powerful motivator for diplomacy. "Admiral," Chen continued, "your leadership wishes to speak with us directly. We're prepared to begin formal negotiations immediately." Over the following hours, something unprecedented in galactic history took place. The Korthak Empire, which had never negotiated with anyone from a position of weakness, found themselves discussing terms with representatives of humanity. The talks were conducted with mutual respect, not because the Korthaks had suddenly developed peaceful intentions, but because they recognized that humans possessed both the power to destroy them and the wisdom to choose restraint. The treaty that emerged established clear boundaries between human and Korthak space, opened trade routes that would benefit both civilizations, and created protocols for peaceful contact with other species. Most importantly, it established humanity as a galactic power that demanded respect. As the Phantom Strike prepared to return to Earth, Captain Chen reflected on what they had accomplished. They had achieved their mission objectives without firing a single shot in anger, without taking a single life, and without compromising humanity's principles. "Course laid in for Earth, Captain," reported Navigator Rodriguez. "Take us home, Lieutenant," Chen said. "I think our people will be pleased with the results." The USS Phantom Strike engaged its quantum drive and disappeared from Korthak sensors, leaving behind a galaxy that would never be the same. Humanity had announced its presence not with conquest or destruction, but with strength tempered by wisdom. And across the Korthak Empire, a new understanding began to take root. The universe was far larger and more complex than they had ever imagined, and they were no longer alone at the top of the galactic hierarchy. The age of human expansion into the galaxy had begun.